Hey there, scrappers and recyclers. It's Shark Scrapper. Take a look at these questions that I get when I post videos about buying material. Love your videos. Just getting started buying and selling. Just curious what percentage you pay. I've been thinking about becoming a dedicated buyer from the scrapyard close to me. Can you give me an idea what to pay? Have you ever sussed out how much you would pay for computers to make a profit? This video answers the question, how do you decide what you should pay for scrap? Come on, let's dive in. Hey everybody, my name is Shark Scrapper. I own and operate a small recycling business out here in the mountains of western North Carolina. Now, for those of you that don't know about my background, I'm a retired naval officer and I have an MBA. I love looking at the theoretical side of this business and putting it to work hands-on every day in my business. And I love sharing that information with all of you so that you can make more informed decisions when you decide that you're either going to take your hobby to the next level or start a small business. Now, pricing, well, there's an easy way to price the stuff you're going to buy. You take a guess and you hope it works. That's not exactly the best way. So I have captured the three main elements that go into what you need to think about when you are coming up with a price that you're going to pay for things. In this video, I'm going to step through all three of those elements, explain them all to you, and then at the end of the video, we're going to put it all together and we're going to take a good hard look at how you would actually price things out so that you can do this yourself when you're back in your shop or your office. Let's be clear right up front. We are not going to be looking at this like the big companies do with all of the detailed nitnoid, driving down into the smallest minutia kind of stuff. And this is also not going to be a MBA level theoretical discussion. This is going to be real world, okay? This is my experience having been in this business for a while now and talking with other business owners in the scrap and recycling business. So this is that combination of theory and hands-on application that you can put to work right away. The three elements, main considerations for pricing are what I'm calling per item profit as the first one. That's, how much more will you make when you sell something than what you paid for it. All right, so I'm going to call that per item profit. The second item are your costs for your small business. And then the third area is your competition. Now, all three of these are important as a business for a number of different reasons, but I'm going to show you how they come together to support your pricing decisions here. But as a new business owner or someone who's planning to start this small business, you don't have a lot of data to work from here. So that's why in planning, we use assumptions. Now, assumptions always have, a certain bad connotation, but in planning, they're absolutely essential. An assumption is something that you take as fact until you get the data that you need that proves it, or if it disproves it, what the real numbers are. An example of this would be when you're planning your pricing, your costs, and you say, I think my lease for my space is going to be $1,500 a month. That's an assumption that you've made because you did some online research, and that's a reasonable assumption. Now, after you've found a space, you've negotiated with the landlord, you've received all your paperwork, it turns out that some of those other fees that you didn't quite understand, like triple net and stuff like that, it adds up, and now the real cost is going to be $1,650 a month. All right, so now you have fact, you have the data point that can replace your assumption of $1,500 a month in your planning. So make sure you record all your assumptions, and then as you get facts, you replace those assumptions with real data. In business school parlance, There are essentially four main types of costs that we refer to: fixed, variable, direct, and indirect. Now, depending upon how sophisticated you want, there can be nuances and other types of costs that people will talk about. But for what we're doing right now, these four are really all we need to really discuss. Fixed costs are those costs that are constant throughout the year. They don't change no matter how busy you get. Your lease, your insurance, your electricity, unless you exceed your minimum. And this is pretty easy because you're going to know these. You will have negotiated your lease rate. You'll have bought your insurance for the year. And what I recommend you do is take any of those costs that are one per year costs, divided by 12 so that you have a monthly fixed cost figure that you're trying to meet each month. Your variable costs will be things that change depending upon how busy you get. So your variable costs will be the cost of your goods, right? Cost of goods sold. All of the stuff like these boards that I'm sorting through, the busier I get, the more I'm paying for these. By the way, these things are also known as a direct cost because these are the materials that directly contribute to me making money. So your variable costs become a bit of a challenge in the beginning because you really don't know how busy you're going to be. Now, what do we do when we don't have a known data point? We make an assumption. In the case of your variable costs for the material that you're going to be buying, well, if you've been doing this as a hobby scrapper, you may have some idea of how much material you're bringing in each month, that you can sort of come up with a reasonable assumption. If you don't have that basis to fall back on, then you kind of have to pick a number. $200 a month. You're making an assumption so that you have some way to do some sort of planning. So maybe you say for the first quarter, I'm going to be spending $200 a month on my goods, the scrap that I'm buying, and then it'll go up to $400 a month because I'm going to get busier. So that's the assumption that you're going to use in your planning. And then as you start buying material and you can replace the assumption with actual data, then you can fine-tune your plan. This brings us to the last element of our price planning, the price per item profit. Now, this is actually one of the easier things that you're going to be able to do at this stage because you can go to your buyer's price list, and if you're selling electronic scrap to boardsort.com, it's very easy. You just go to the boardsort.com webpage, you look at the price list, and then you can make a decision: how much am I going to pay for the same item? A good place to be, a general rule of thumb here, is to say I'm going to start out at 40%. And if I have to, I'll go up to 60% depending upon the competition in my area. Now, the reason for that is because if you're paying 40% of what BoardSort is going to pay you, then that means you're making that nice chunk of profit on that piece of material, whether it's your motherboards or telecom boards or whatever. That profit then is what you use to help pay off all those other costs so that you are net profitable for the month as you go through the business. So all you do is you go down and you build yourself a price list if you want, and there's actually nothing wrong with this. This is not illegal. This is not going to get you in trouble anywhere. You take whoever your buyer is. Boardsort.com is one of my primary buyers. I have some others. So I make my price list. The first time I did it, I literally just took boardsort.com price list, and my first column was I'm going to pay 40% of what BoardSort pays. Now, I have about 3 other buyers, so in some cases I have to go in and I have to adjust because I'm not selling those items to board sort, I'm selling them to somebody else, so I have to put their price in there. So I'll have a column for board sort prices, a column for, say, Didion prices, a column for local scrapyard prices, and then I'll have my 40% column and then my 60% column. So I know a price range that I'm working in. Now I can look at where I stand, and this is why you want to have an understanding of your competition and your costs. So let's tie it all together now. In order to tie all of this together, what you're going to do is you're going to take the price list that you created with your 40%, and you're going to look at your competition and you're going to say, is the competition paying more than I am or less than I am? If they're paying more than you, then you have to ask yourself, will I be able to convince my clients that it's worth getting less because I'm offering them services that the other buyer won't give them? So maybe that service is a free pickup or a discounted pickup. Maybe it is, as I've done, as you're watching me do here, sorting a load at no charge. So you're looking at how you stack up next to the competition with your price list. Now, if you have to, then you adjust up, trying to go no higher than 60% because you still need to make money and cover your shipping and all that kind of stuff. So you adjust your price list according to how you think you can fare with your competition. Go ahead and make your hard copies, put it up on your website, and you start buying material. Now you're at risk here because you don't know yet if you're actually going to make any money, but what you're going to do is start keeping good records. So you're going to keep track of everything you buy. You've got your costs already down pretty well, and at the end of your first month, you'll be able to look at your variable cost and adjust those to meet the actuals for that month. Then you can calculate your P&L, your profit or loss. If you made money, great. If you didn't make money, then what's the deal? Do you need to adjust your price or just bring in more material? As you bring in more material, then you can refine your P&L. Now remember, it might take you a month or two or even 3 before you can ship out a lot of stuff. So there may be some delay in your profit. But you know, you're going to build this up over time, understanding of your P&L. But you do it each month, and you ask yourself, am I making each month? If not, why? And does my plan look like I will be recovering and getting into the profit category in the next month ahead? Or is there something in my cost structure that is just not sustainable, so that you can make adjustments from there? I know that there's some of you who are saying to yourself, hey Shark, that's way too complicated. Look, just give me a number. That's all I really wanted to know was a number. Okay, so 40%, yeah, that's what I wanted to know. But I would be doing all of you a disservice if that's all I did. Because the reality of setting your price, what you are going to pay for your scrap that you're buying, is that you have to cover all your costs and make money in a competitive world. And so it was very important that I help you understand how to tie all 3 of those together. Your pricing decision is not made in a vacuum. It's made relative to what you're going to make when you sell the items and what your competitors are doing. You might be able to offer better services or in some way compensate for not paying as much for the scrap that you're getting. Or, depending upon your competitive situation, you may be able to charge a lot less because there's nobody else around that is paying for it. You may even have some clients who are willing to just give it to you for free. But again, if I just gave you a number and I didn't help you understand how to tie all those pieces together so you would be successful, then shame on me, because that would be a bad shark thing to do. If you are a member of our Shiver, remember that you can take advantage of the Excel spreadsheets that I have. Depending upon what level you join in the Shiver, you can get the spreadsheets. You can even get them custom made. That's one of the benefits that our top tier members get, is custom made Excel spreadsheets to support your small business. Now that you know what you can pay, you need to find more clients. And I've got a video right over here to help you figure out just how to do that. Get more clients.